Well, that's Ajay Piramal weighing in on what these changes will mean for the pharmaceutical sector. And that's not all. Let me quickly run you through some of the other crucial sectors that have been opened up. The government has allowed 100% FDI broadcasting carriage services. This will benefit DTH operators like Dish TV, Hathaway, Den Networks, among others. Animal husbandry has also been opened up for 100% FDI, along with trading of food products. And this also includes trading of food products via e-commerce for products manufactured and produced in India. Joining us now to discuss the implications of these moves is Kalpesh Maroo of BMR Associates. Kalpesh, appreciate you joining us. A whole bunch of sectors up for further liberalization post today's announcement. Materially, where do you see the most impact?
I think the entire liberalization on the FDI and food manufacturing and retailing of food produced and manufactured in India is a big step. Because if you think about it and look at all the policy discussions that has happened in the past, I think undoubtedly the restrictive regime that we have for FDI and multi-brand retailing time and again acts as a cornerstone of what is considered to be one of the more restrictive policies from an FDI perspective. When you look at that, when you put the change that has happened in that context, effectively what the government is saying is that they're going to permit 100% FDI in retail stores that are exclusively set up for selling food that is either produced or manufactured in India. So on one end, this is multi-brand retailing in food effectively has come through. It's very good to note that it doesn't have any restrictions in terms of minimum capitalization or end-use restrictions in terms of where the money needs to go. The second and the more important thing that the government has done, and perhaps for the first time, it's put e-commerce players on the same footing as brick and mortar shops.
Right.
If you look at the whole FDI policy that came up in the past on e-commerce, it was always treated differently, and that's how the policies existed through several years and several rounds of changes. But in this policy, e-commerce players have been given a level playing field with the brick and mortar players. Now, what this does, in my view, is that with the brick and mortar stores, you have investments that go into the front end infrastructure in setting up the so-called mom and pop stores. This format, I presume, as it starts developing, will cater to high street and closer to home kind of shops, small format stores. And by allowing e-commerce, you are then allowing for money to be pumped in the back end infrastructure, which is a really smart move. Dampener, if any, is the fact that it's restricted only to food products. I mean, if you think about it, how many shops do we see around residential localities that only sell food products? What would have been good is if they had made some kind of a relaxation to allow essential products to come in, toothpaste, detergents, the likes.
You're right, but it is a step in the positive direction as far as food marketing is concerned, and this has of course been long awaited. But let me also ask you about what you made of what the government is saying as far as single brand retail is concerned. Now, they've tweaked the single brand retail policy because the view of the FIPB was that the government should not be seen as being discretionary. So what they've decided to do is, if you fall under the state-of-the-art category, which again does throw up some question marks, but if you fall under the state-of-the-art category, then you will be exempt from local sourcing for 3 years, and then you will get another 5 years to comply, so effectively 8 years to comply with local sourcing. So does this lift the fog for the likes of Apple that were looking at entering India?
It's interesting that they've used the term relaxation. Let's just take a step back and look at what the policy was. So for normal single brand retailing, you anyway had a policy that allowed a retailer to source 30% of their products over a period of 5 years. And then there was an exception for specific products which were deemed to be cutting edge and state of the art, where the government had a discretion to completely waive this condition. So the discretion could have been used to either extend the 5 years to 8 years, or for that matter, it could have been used to waive the sourcing entirely or anywhere between 30 to all the way down to 0. What's come in as a relaxation, and it's a little funnily worded, but it seems like the relaxation really is that the state-of-the-art products are getting an additional 3 years. So you have a complete waiver from sourcing requirements for 3 years, and then you have a 5-year block in which you need to meet the 30% sourcing requirement. So it's not 8 years of zero sourcing and thereafter 30. It's 3 years of zero and thereafter
and then 5 years.
30 over a 5-year block. Yeah. So it's not a relaxation.
So it's not really a relaxation.
It doesn't seem to be, but I'm sure that the government has spoken to the different players who are seeking this exemption, and they feel comfortable that 8 years is a long enough period for companies to meet with this restriction. But we'll see. I mean, depends on the proof of the pudding.
No, you're right, and I think the government.
How many entities are going to be setting up?
That's right. But very quickly, before I let you go, you've got a curious case here of, on one hand, for single brand retail, the government is saying, let's categorize people as state-of-the-art technology and so on and so forth. Whereas in the defense sector, the government is saying, drop state-of-the-art technology because it's too complicated. We need a simpler system because who defines state-of-the-art technology?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think on defense, they've gone a completely opposite direction. I think the clear thrust there is we need manufacturing activity to take place to kickstart job creation. They're basically saying if this is a deterrent, let's just do away with any of these conditions, give government absolute discretion for reasons to be recorded in writing to allow more than 49% investment. I think that's the way to be going. The whole policy of what is state of the art, what is modern, what is new is just open to endless debate and just doesn't help anybody's cause. If money comes in the defense sector for manufacturing low-end products, so be it.
Right.
It's a classic debate of control and regulation versus completely open policy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it only ends up in more controversy. But Kalpesh, we could have continued, but unfortunately we're out of time. Thanks very much for taking us through the implications of the decisions taken by the government when it comes to FDI. But let's quickly wrap up the market action as well. There was a lot of speculation as to which way the Lal Street would turn today after Raghuram Rajan announced on Saturday that he wasn't going to be around for a second term. The benchmark indices started cautiously and dipped in initial trade